played it through on the keyboards, and he said, well, you know, everybody in sort of from the beginning. So the bass comes in with the keyboards as he's changing his chords, and he's just doing the. And then we go into the riff. That particular thing was done on the keyboards. He wrote the riff. I mean, he played that on the piano. So that was all it. And what we would do, I'd just follow the chords, you know, as I've just played you on the beginning. I'd just follow the verse chords, which is just doing root, fifth, and octave on a lot of it. We toured America with Ziggy. The first American tour, we went out there for 3 months, and we did, I think it was 12 concerts in 3 months. We started off playing in a little place in Boston to, I think it was 200 people. And I always remember Tony DeFries saying, when we come back, there was a big hall next door that held 10,000 people, and we were playing in this small one that held 500. He says, we'll play that hall at the end of this tour, we'll play in that hall. And we did, we came back and did 2 nights sold out, 20,000 people. It's a pretty basic thing really, you know, he's playing gong, 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 gong. He's playing mainly the same on the keyboard, dong, gong, 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 you know, it's that sort of thing. So you don't really need to put a lot in it, you know, it's just that. And that's all there is in that song. It was, I mean, it's the basic Bowie, as he was writing in those days, keyboard rundown, you know. And he wrote a lot of songs with the bass lines running down, and then you go down, then you get the, which is a string part that comes in there. Which is what the strings play, which is what I played, and they added the strings in over the top later on to play that. It's a product of the band again, you know. I mean, it was a basic song that was played to us, and I added the bass lines, and then Ronson wrote the string parts, and he used some of the bass lines to go with the string parts. And then Rick came along and did all the keyboards over the top and stuff. So it was, to make the song sound like that, it was a band thing, definitely. But David wrote the song. I think it's a great song. I always remember him coming in the studio and he'd just written that lyric, the line, Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow. And he comes steaming into the control room and he said, oh, listen to this, Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow, because we all just started laughing. Until you hear it in the song, you know, I mean, it's all imagery stuff, you know, and it was brilliant in the song. But when somebody first says it, it's like, what? Yeah. He was originally going to be one of the Spiders. Bowie had asked him to join the band, and I think he would have been great. I think he would have fitted in perfectly, but unfortunately Yes came along with a lot of money. And he went off with Yes. He'd sit down and Bowie, if it was the piano, he'd sit down and play the piano, and Rick would just maybe sit at the other end and learn the chords, and then, of course, Rick could then elaborate on it amazingly, a lot more than David was playing, you know. And be like free to do what he wanted. He'd been to the States and he'd got involved with Lou Reed, and he'd watched a few of the American bands. Iggy Pop was a big influence, and I think what he tried to create was an American type of sound, but with a British band. This is the line from the middle of John, I'm Only Dancing, which is a lot of people like, a lot of bass players think it's a very good bass line. Genie was, the song was David wrote on the back of a Greyhound bus on the way to Memphis, Tennessee from New York. And originally, the guy that did the paintings on the album covers, Hunky Dory and Ziggy, George Underwood, was sat at the back of the bus with Bowie's Les Paul. And he was playing that riff. and a few Chuck Berry songs he was messing about with, and David happened to cotton on to. So when George put the guitar down, David picked it up and started playing the same thing, same chord riff. And he sat in the back of the bus for about an hour and a half, just messing about and singing. They were all at the back of the bus. And 3 days later, we went back to New York, and we went in the studios in New York, and he played as Genie. And he played the whole song to us, and then he said, we'll do a run through. So we did a run through. But I always remember that the Yardbirds had a song called I'm a Man, which was by some old blues singer, I don't know if it's Howlin' Wolf or somebody, that they'd done. And it was exactly the same riff, da, 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 da. So I always remember Paul Samuel Smith did a run on the beginning of that, and it went da 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 da. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll elaborate on that and I'll nick it off him. So I stole it in a way, and instead of doing the single rundown, I did. It was a good song. We all knew it was a good song. I mean, we had a quick run through of it, and we all knew it was like I'm a Man by the Yardbirds. We'd all played that before many times as kids. And then we had one go at it, and we didn't keep that take. And then we had one more go at it, and that was the take we kept, which if you listen to on the record is where I actually make the bass mistake that's so famous that everybody points out to me, where I go down to the B too early. But it fits, so we keep it. And I still today, if I play that song, I still play that mistake, because everybody says, you've got to play that mistake, you know, you've got to play that mistake. So it was kept, it was done in one go, and everything was kept, the guitar solo, and I remember we started, I think it was 11 o'clock, by 12 o'clock it was all finished and mixed. And a week later it was #2 in the charts in England. It was the fastest single ever recorded, I think. We've done it about an hour and a half at the most, I should think, yeah. It was just go in, set up, play the song, get the sound really quickly, run through it once, do it again. That's the one we're going to keep it. Bowie went out there, he played a bit of harmonica, did the vocals, did the backing vocals, played a bit of tambourine, and that was it, done. And then it was sent over to England that same day. The track was sent to England, and the next, I think it was, we did it on like a Wednesday or something. I think they had it out on the Monday. The Rush released it on the Monday, and it was in the charts the following week. And we couldn't believe it, you know. The only one thing that I always remember, I went in the studio one night, we were going out for dinner, and they were finishing off a mix of Moon Age Daydream. And Mick had put his guitar solo on the end, which I hadn't heard. And I walked in and they played it to us on the big speakers, quite loud. And when it finished, I knew then that was a great album from that one track and stuff. And the music industry had gone through the blues stage, you know, the Beatles, the Stones, and it went into this blues stage with bands like Cream and that coming through, and the rock, and you've got the Deep Purple, and you've got all that, which was okay for the heavier people, but for the younger kids and that, there really wasn't anything except poppy records. There wasn't anything you could like. There was no hero, superhero for them. You know what I mean? There hadn't been any for a while. And when Bowie came along with Ziggy, who was a superhero, really, they latched onto that superhero. When they came to see Ziggy Stardust, not David Bowie, that's what they came to see. And that was their hero, you know, and that's how it works. His cartoon character. And that's what he was on stage, you know, and it worked perfectly, the way it was put together. It's really hard to say why was that a great album. It just happened. We just went in, we recorded it, and everybody loved it. Because it's not down to us. It's down to the people that buy it, it's down to the people in radio stations, it's down to the press. When they got this album, they just went wild about it. And the Beatles and all that, everybody had beards, you know. And it was getting to the end of that era, you know. It was about the time I shaved it off anyway. But and Mick and Woody were clean shaved, and Bowie was clean shaved. And I kept looking at them, and I kept thinking, like, well, I look just so odd against these two. I'm just ain't going to match in here. So what I decided to do was, I thought, well, I'll shave the middle out. So I shaved the middle out, all right, and I left the tash and the sideburns, and I had that for a while, and I thought, no, that looks stupid. So I shaved the tash off, right, and it was just at the time when we'd just done Ziggy and we were getting the image together. And I thought, well, I'll shave the sideburns off as well. And then Angie Bowie says, don't you shave them off. They're part of your image now. So I was left with them. And then of course, she sprayed them silver because she had this silver tin of spray that she went around spraying everybody with. And she got hold of me, and that was I mean, it's a good album, but what is it? It's an album of cover songs. There was a story once that somebody asked Bowie about why did he do that album? And he said, oh, I did the album because the band were bored and needed something to do, so he blamed us for it. When actually, I always remember going around to a hotel in London, and he was playing me all the songs that he was going to do on the album, and I knew nothing about it. It was an album, he thought, he was pressurised, I think. You know, when record companies, he's got big success, they want another album. And I don't think he had the songs. He'd been out on the road touring, and I don't really think he had the don't think he had the material, I don't think he had the direction, where to go, or anything. And I think it was, how can I fill this gap quick? I know loads of people who would love to have done what I did, you know. It was the most exciting thing I've ever done. Well, the band, you've got 3 musicians from Hull. 2 of them have played together for quite a long time in a band called The Rats, and then me, who played in the area in another band, a rival band. And we all did the same sort of music. And we were all into heavy rock and blues and power music, you know, good feel power music. And then when I joined, we still had that. And then we took it to Bowie, who basically, in some respects, was a folk singer. And you put his songs with our music and our power that we had, and he's put the really great songs together, and all of a sudden the songs change because the band turns it and twists it, and you come up with a great combination, you know. And I think that's what happened. It was just either happened by chance or it was fate or whatever, I don't know, but it just happened. It just gelled. Oh, the music stood the test of time without fail, you know. I mean, people still. That album still gets voted one of the albums of all time. Everybody I talk to must have a Ziggy album in this country. And everybody I meet that was a Bowie fan, that was their era. It was the Spiders and Ziggy era. And then to do Ziggy, and then from then on for Ziggy to take off. I mean, I'd always wanted to be in a band that was successful. And that was huge, you know, and it wasn't the sort of success where you do an album, you have a hit album, and then nobody ever hears about you again. To do Ziggy, which is a classic album, and it always will be, you know, it's up there with Sgt. Pepper and stuff like that. It was amazing to play on that. The period that I was with Bowie was only, I think it was 3 years, and when I'd finished with him, I didn't know if Ziggy would ever be recognised as a great album all that period, you know. I mean, I went on to join Heep and then Wishbone and Heep again. But still today, people just love that album and love that era, and people just talk about it all the time. And it's always on the TV, and it's always in the newspaper, and it's always there, it's never gone away. It's such an important era of rock and roll, and I mean, it's amazing that I actually played on all that stuff. You know, it's brilliant for me. I mean, because I'd gone from just playing in local bands, never been in a recording studio before, to going into a recording studio, doing Hunky Dory, which I adored as an album. I was proud. If I'd have only done that, I'd have been proud of that, you know. I would have preferred to have gone out and, like we were originally going to do, was to have sort of partied with Bowie in a way and gone out, and me, Mick and Woody had gone out and done the Stardust thing together. I think if we'd have done that, which we were going to do, until certain forces and management stepped in and stopped it, I think that would have been great, because we wouldn't have known where we would have gone as a band as well. We could have gone on and done great albums, and we weren't given the chance because other people didn't want it to happen. Which is sad, I think, you know. I'd like to have gone out like that, but the way it went out, it was pretty, not a nice ending to such a great time, you know. it still gets me today, you know. I still think about it and think, you know, if we'd have just done this, you know, never mind without David or whatever, but if we'd have just gone on and done something else and carried it through a bit further. But unfortunately it stopped when Ronson did his solo albums, and Woody got fired. And I sort of did this album with Ainsley Dunbar, but the heart had gone out the band then, you know. I mean, Ainsley Dunbar's a great drummer, but it's not Woody Woodmansey. You know, you lose a member of the band and it changes.